Today, Japan is one of the world's largest and wealthiest countries. This highly advanced and sophisticated country has the world's third largest economy. However, Japan has had to deal with a number of economic issues after 3 decades of severe economic stagnation. Japan's economy was once on the verge of overtaking the United States to become the world's largest economy. But today we see Japan as a country on decline. What can Japan do to address these economic issues, and how and why are they occurring? In this video, we'll look at Japan, charting its evolution from its peak economic years to the present. To look into the causes of Japan's recent economic decline. The 1960s and 1970s were a period of economic upheaval in Japan. Japan had recovered from the devastation of World War II to become a highly developed, rich nation with a highly skilled workforce and a democratic government. What came was known as the Japanese miracle refers to Japan's enormous political and economic growth during this period. However, the Japanese economy actually peaked in the 1980s. Throughout the 1980s, Japan's economy expanded at an annual rate of 4% on average. The country had transformed into a manufacturing behemoth, producing everything from automobiles to electronics. As Japan's middle class expanded, so did domestic demand for goods and services. The Japanese government subsequently designated Tokyo as Japan's financial center and the location of one of the world's largest stock exchanges at the time. With a GDP of $1.1 trillion, Japan had the world's second largest economy at the time, after the United States. Japan's future appeared bright, and its economy appeared to be expanding. Many people predicted that Japan would soon overtake the United States as the world's largest economy. However, things began to change in the 1990s. The Japanese economy completely collapsed. This occurred as a result of Japan's central bank, the Bank of Japan, encouraging banks to lend money to consumers at alarming rates. When combined with low interest rates, this became the recipe for one of the largest credit bubbles in history. After determining that a bubble was expanding, the Bank of Japan raised interest rates in 1989 in an effort to prevent the bubble from expanding further. However, the asset bubble burst as a result of the stock market and real estate crashes. Because of the stagnant Japanese economy at the time, many Japanese financial institutions failed or had to be bailed out due to excessive debt. This resulted in an economic disaster, which is why the years 1991 to 2001 in Japan are known as the lost decade. Even though it is widely acknowledged that the collapse of the stock and real estate markets precipitated Japan's lost decade, it is unclear why the consequences have lasted so long. According to one argument, after the stock market crash, people's confidence in the economy was at an all-time low, and they no longer wanted to put their hard-earned money into risky investments such as stocks or bonds. As a result, people kept their savings accounts open. People, however, refrained from spending their money out of fear that the economy would worsen. As a result, people began to spend less money, contributing to an increase in deflation throughout the economy. Deflation is the opposite of inflation and occurs when there is insufficient money in the economy, thus causing economic stagnation, and in turn GDP growth became stunted, with growth rates averaging less than 1% throughout the 90s. Technically, the last decade is over, however many of the effects remain. Economic stagnation is still prevalent throughout Japan. To this day, the Bank of Japan has tried to ignite economic activity by lowering interest rates as well as through quantitative easing, both to no avail. Although Japan's economy had partially recovered by the 21st century, it faced a new challenge for the other half of the 21st century. Because the country transformed itself into a low-cost manufacturing hub and an exporting powerhouse, the Japanese economy performed exceptionally well. However, as the country grew, manufacturing costs rose. Businesses were looking for a new country to do business with. In the early 2000s, China began to open up to the rest of the world. China surpassed Japan as the world's center for low-cost manufacturing, a position it still holds today. Japan must not only deal with China's growing competition, but also with an aging population crisis. In 2021, Japan will have 811,000 births and 1.4 million deaths. Furthermore, nearly 30% of Japan's population is over the age of 65. For some time, Japan's birth rates have been declining, and the country's elderly population has left unfilled jobs, resulting in a labor crisis. Because of its strict immigration laws, Japan has been hesitant to fill these positions with immigrants. All of these issues have been exacerbated by the pandemic. As the economy beginning to open up from shutdown, Japan's economy is only now beginning to recover. However, they are now facing stiffer competition from China and emerging manufacturing hubs such as Vietnam and Philippines. Despite its difficulties, Japan remains the world's third largest economy and has done so for some time. Japan is also one of the most resilient and innovative countries in the world. And I am confident that the country will use its ingenuity and resiliency to solve the current problems and achieve great economic prosperity once more. That's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, if you'd like to see more of this type of content in the future, please leave a like, comment, and consider subscribing. Please also let me know in the comments what other topics you'd like me to cover in future episodes. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. This is Visionomics. Thank you for watching until the end.